Skin is glowing, my energy is flowing, confidence growing, glow up is loading. When I look in the mirror, I see everything I want and everything I can ever need. I attract success.
Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. This is Life with Naturally Nicki, where I focus on navigating my life after divorce. As a woman in my mid-30s, so if that is something that is of interest to you, make sure you hit that subscribe button and also hit the bell for notifications so that you don't miss anything whenever it is that I post. Now, today, I want to first start off by saying that this was not my regularly planned video for the day. So I wanted to share a personal story, and I hope that God uses it to open up the eyes of somebody else. And yeah, I'm just gonna ask the Holy Spirit to get the message out so the best way possible, right? So my mom came to visit me Mother's Day weekend, and she bought me these. If you guys know, if you old school, you know our daily bread, right? So my grandmother used to always give them to me all the time, so that I would have a devotion to read. And ever since she passed, I haven't really had any. So my mom bought me some for Mother's Day when she came down to visit. And I was doing the devotion. So I missed devotion yesterday for June 1st. So while I was doing the devotion for yesterday, the title of it is from Holey, Holey. So like to have holes, to holy, like God sent, right? Or Holy. So the key verses that the devotion was focused on was 2 Timothy chapter 1, verses 6 through 10. Now, I'm going to focus specifically on verses 9 and 10 because that's how my story fits into place. So, just a little snippet, it says, "He has saved us and called us to a holy life, not because of anything that we've done, but because of his own purpose and grace." Now, the question that this devotion asked was, how do you view personal holiness? In what ways will you ask God to remind you of all of his surpassing grace that brings you about his holiness in your life? Instantaneously, I thought about something that I had went through while I was going through my divorce. And I'm just going to tell you guys, no judgment, because the only person that could judge me is God, and he placed it on my heart to share it with you guys. So I'm gonna just be 100% transparent with you guys and 100% open. So immediately following my separation from my ex-husband, I actually started dabbling into like tarot and just focusing on like just hearing from God through like the cards and things of that nature. Now, the way I got there, so there are multiple points to this story, so just stay with me, bear with me the best you can. When I got introduced to like tarot, sage, and all of the things through a friend of mine. When I was going through my divorce, I was just, you guys already know because I told y'all a million times, I was in a really bad place. I was really low self-esteem and all of the things. So my friend actually gave me some sage, and she was like, listen, you need to pray over your house and ask God, to cleanse your house. And I'm like, I never heard of like cleansing in this way. So I was just like, okay, whatever. At the time I'm heartbroken, so I'm willing to try anything. So she gives me the sage, and I remember coming home, I light it, and I say a prayer all through the house. And the prayer that I pray, I remember it like it was yesterday, even though it was like years ago. The prayer that I prayed was like, Lord, whatever is keeping me from you and keeping my family, because at the time I'm thinking like, we're still working on repairing our marriage, right? We're in marriage counseling. We're doing all the things. Now, my ex-husband was away on a business trip, right? So while he was gone, I light the sage, and I go from the top to the bottom of the house, and I'm just praying like, God, anything that's in this house, remove it. Anything that is not of you, not bringing us closer together as a family, anything that the enemy is placing in our lives, just remove it. I want nothing to do with it. And then I closed the windows, closed the door. That was it. I forgot all about it. Now, my my ex-husband comes home about a day or so later, and he comes in the house frantic. Like, as soon as he comes through the door, he's just like, "What did you do?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He was like, "No, what did you do?" And I was just like, I don't know. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't know what he's talking about. He's like, I can't breathe. Like, he's like literally undressing, like trying to take his clothes off, like choking. And I'm like, "Oh, do you need your asthma pump?" Like, I'm literally confused as to what's going on, why he's acting the way he was, and things of that nature. So he's like, "No, I can't stay here. I can't stay here anymore." And he leaves. So I'm still there sitting stuck, like, what on earth just happened? Now, they tell you all the time, be careful with those prayers, because when you pray to God, one thing for certain, two things for sure. He is going to make sure that he removes whatever it is that you ask for. Now, in my case, I am really thinking it's outside influences. I'm not thinking like, okay, this is not the person for me, right? So I'm just thinking like, oh, okay. Alright, so boom. So he's gone. I don't even know where he goes. That's just it. So I remember probably like hours later, like, oh my gosh, I said this prayer. And then I'm like, wait a minute. Well, I prayed for God to remove things that were not for me, things that were keeping me from him. And again, like, the biggest thing for me was, I'm thinking it's outside sources, like it's outsiders that's keeping me from God. I'm not thinking, again, it's this person that I'm yoked with, that I have this commitment to, that is the one who's going to be standing in the way of me and God. So yeah, so after all of that happens, this is also the transition to him leaving the house, like, for good, like never turning back. So like it just so like thinking back now, it like happened so seamlessly, even though while it was going, like, while it was, when I was in the thick of it, I felt like things were just happening right and left, like it was just one extreme after another. But when I look back, it was really like clockwork, like everything happened the way it was supposed to happen, right? So after that, like I said, that same friend, she was like, oh, she just started using tarot. So she was just like, oh, I could do like a reading for you and just ask God like what he wants you to focus on. And in my head, I'm like, I'm not thinking this is witchcraft, because it doesn't feel like it. It feels like, you know what, like, she believes in God, I believe in God. And I really saw no problem with it. And Satan is crafty with that. Like, Satan will have you thinking like, well, this is okay. Well, you could do this, but really and truly, like, it did not feel wrong. And also I did pray about it. So I did say like, God, at one point I was like, I never learned or even saw or knew what tarot cards was. Like, my family grew up in church, and we wasn't even allowed to play, like, we couldn't play anything but Uno. So we wasn't even allowed to play like Uno and I Declare War. So they never let us like play cards and stuff like that. So I had never seen a tarot card. Like, I didn't really know, but I did know like we just don't interact with it, but not necessarily understood why or the connection, or like, I just felt like I wish I had more education in that regard. So I digress with that. Alright, so from that point on, I went from like burning sage and incense to now I'm getting readings, right, from this friend or whatever. So I have my own cards. Yeah, so I went down that slippery slope. I was down that road, and it was just one day, like, I had dealt with that for a little minute. I'm not even gonna lie. So it was just one day, and you think about, so the reason why I got to this is because the question was talking about like God surpassing grace and how he shows grace towards us. And I was just thinking like, God allowed me to go through this process, go through this for myself, right? Because one day woke up and I just heard God like, so what's up with the cards? And I'm like, I know exactly what it's talking about. And it was at that moment that I was like, you know what? This is the closest I have ever been to God in my whole entire life. And I've been in church my entire life, from a child all the way to an adult. And this is the closest I have ever been to God. Like, I'm literally on speed dial. Like, hey, God, let me tell you what happened today, right? Regular conversations. So once that question popped into my head, like, what's up with the cards? I was just like, you're right. Like, I don't really need these cards. Like, this is not giving me a connection to you. If I have any questions, I could just go to the source. I don't need anything to intervene. I don't need anything to stand in the way or speak on my behalf, because I already have I have the speed dial to God. So I wound up throwing out all of my cards. In addition to that, all of like the YouTube channels that I was following that had to do with like tarot and astrology and things of that nature, I unsubscribed from them. The same thing, like I had to clean out my Instagram and clean out my stuff. But it was just the point of it all was God allowed me to go through this. God allowed me not to be influenced by other people saying, don't do this, it's wrong. But he allowed me to experience it for myself. I'm not exactly sure why. I think maybe for this moment, right? Maybe for this video, maybe for me to be sitting here and telling you, like, listen, if you decide to follow God, you decide to follow Jesus, like, he never said you're not going to go through nothing. And he also never said that you're going to be 100% perfect. He is still going to allow you to go through things, because that is going to strengthen your faith. So along with the stuff that came with that, like, I had to pray over my house again, but just using the Lord's Prayer, right? And just all of that. Now, also going back to like the earlier scriptures when it's talking about in First Timothy chapter 1 verse 6, really verse 9, even though I said 6 through 9, but it's really verse 9 that was the one that was like, aha, so even going back to that, I feel like, it's just a reminder that God gave us each our own unique gifts and talents, and he calls us to embrace those gifts, not with fear, but not with fear, but with power, love, and self-discipline. And the self-discipline is the one that gets a lot of us, right? So it was through faith in God, it was through all of this that he allowed me to go through all of this, so that I can report back, so I can come full circle and kind of like, now I have that discernment, right? To know, like, when Satan is, up to his regular ways, doing the regular stuff that he does on a regular, that I can understand and know that, God wouldn't want me to do this way, because, I already spoke to him about this, or like, I can't be deceived in that way anymore, right? When people talk about spiritual growth, sometimes, a lot of the time people talk about surface stuff. Like, we talking about I was in there, like, in the thick of it. And I'm not saying that I'm proud of it. I'm just saying that I am glad that, one, God delivered me, and two, I'm able to now recognize and know better and do better because I know better, right? So when I talk about God's surpassing grace, I was just thinking about, like, he didn't have to do it. He could have been like, you know what, you made your choice, you went down the wrong path. But God is so faithful to us that he allows us to go through things for his glory, for his purpose. And all of this is in alignment. And I may not know why, or, the alignment or all of the moving pieces to the puzzle right now, but I'm going to be able to look back and be like, you know what? That happened just as seamless as the other stuff. I had to go through that in order to get to this, or get through this. So I'm happy, even though I'm going through experiences at the time, they weigh me down, because they weigh us down, especially in them spiritual tests. But glory be to God that I'm able to sit here and tell you guys today that God is faithful, and do not give up on your walk, on your journey. And if you are somebody who is struggling with you know what, I'm doing something and I don't necessarily know if it's right or wrong. I know that right now, this is what it is. This is how it makes me feel, or this is how I'm doing it. Ask God to reveal it to you. He always gonna come through every time. And guys, as we wrap up today's video, I just want to encourage you all to, one, show grace to others who are on their journey, right? Let's lift each other up in prayer. Remember to pray for me, to pray for my family, and pray for all others who are unsaved, like unsaved loved ones, and just the world, because we need the prayer. And let's just continue to walk in faith and spread the love of Christ to each other, right? And just remember also, like, when people are vulnerable and they are telling their stories and their mishaps, like, don't kick them while they're down. Like, show them some grace, because at the end of the day, whatever they go through, even if they make those choices, right? Because God gives us free will, He also gives us the choice to come back. So it's not your job or anybody else's job to sit there and tell them, well, you should have did, or I wouldn't have done. Like, we're all on our own journey for our own reasons, for our own purpose, for the glory of God, right? So I hope this video was helpful. I hope you guys, if you haven't done so already, remember to subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications so that you don't miss anything. And I love you guys, and I will see you all in the next one. Stay blessed, stay beautiful. Stay blessed, stay beautiful, stay yourself naturally. See you guys next time. Bye.